Last week, I caught myself hate scrolling someone's vacation photos at 2 a.m., feeling like a failure because I wasn't in Bali. I teach this stuff. I know better. And I was still doing it. Because here's what nobody tells you. Comparison isn't a personality flaw. It's a hijacked survival instinct. Your brain thinks it's keeping you safe by showing you who's ahead, but it's actually showing you a highlight reel and calling it a threat assessment. You're not weak for comparing. You're human. But you're also being lied to. And I want to talk to you today about that lie because it's costing you everything. It's costing you your peace, your presence, your power, and your ability to actually live the life that's right in front of you. So, if you're willing to hear me out for the next few minutes, I'm going to show you something that might completely change how you see yourself and your journey. Here's the truth nobody's saying. You're not overthinking because you're anxious. You're overthinking because you're comparing yourself to imaginary people living imaginary lives. Social media didn't invent comparison, but it did weaponize it. It turned a natural human tendency into an industrial-scale assembly line of not enough. Every scroll is a new measurement. Every post is a new opportunity to find yourself lacking. Every update is another reminder that someone, somewhere, is doing it better, faster, prettier, more successfully than you. And this video isn't about boosting your confidence or learning to love yourself more. That advice doesn't work because it doesn't address the real problem. The real problem is this. You're using other people's destinations as your roadmap. You're trying to live someone else's timeline, someone else's definition of success, someone else's version of happy. And no matter how fast you run, no matter how hard you work, you can never arrive at someone else's destination. It's geographically impossible. What I'm offering you today is different. It's not motivation, it's permission. Permission to stop racing toward a finish line that keeps moving. Permission to realize that the person you're trying to become already exists. They're just buried under layers of borrowed expectations. And today, we're going to dig them out together. So let me start with a parable. There's this story I love about a painter who spent decades creating masterpieces, each one more beautiful than the last, but she never showed them to anyone. She kept them stacked in her studio, collecting dust, leaning against walls, hidden under sheets. And when people asked why, when friends and family would say, "Hey, these are incredible, why aren't you sharing these with the world?" she'd always give the same answer. They're not ready yet. They're not as good as the ones in the galleries downtown. She'd been to those galleries once, years ago, and the experience had shattered something inside her. She saw works by celebrated artists, pieces that commanded huge prices, paintings that drew crowds. And she went home convinced that her work would never measure up. So she stopped going. She stopped looking. But she never stopped comparing. In her mind, those gallery paintings became perfect, untouchable, the standard against which she measured every brushstroke. One day, her nephew visited. He was just a kid, maybe 10 years old, curious and unfiltered the way kids are. He wandered into her studio and saw the paintings. Dozens of them. Hundreds of hours of work, years of dedication, all hidden away. And his eyes went wide. He said, "These are amazing. These are incredible. Why aren't they in a museum? Why isn't everyone seeing these?" And the painter gave her usual answer. "They're not good enough. The painters in the galleries are so much better than me. I'm just not at that level." The kid looked confused. He tilted his head like kids do when something doesn't make sense. He said, "Have you been to those galleries lately?" And she realized she hadn't. She'd stopped going years ago because it made her feel small, inadequate, like she was wasting her time. So the nephew, this persistent little kid, dragged her downtown. They walked through gallery after gallery. And here's what happened. Nothing. Nothing dramatic, nothing earth-shattering. The paintings were fine. Some were beautiful, some were moving, some were mediocre, some were honestly kind of boring. Some made her feel something and some left her cold. But here's what she realized. And this is the part that matters. This is the part I need you to hear. She'd been comparing her behind the scenes to everyone else's exhibition. She saw her own sketches, her failed attempts, the paintings she'd abandoned halfway through, the colors that didn't work, the compositions that fell flat, her doubt-filled 3 a.m. sessions where she questioned whether she had any talent at all. She knew every mistake she ever made. She lived with the full reality of her creative process, the messy, uncertain, vulnerable reality of making art. But when she looked at other painters, when she thought about those gallery artists, she only saw their finished product, their best work, their most polished pieces, their public face. She was comparing her totality to their highlight reel. And that's not a fair fight. That's not even the same game. You're doing the same thing right now, in your life, in your career, in your relationships, in every area where you feel like you're falling short. You're comparing your rough draft to everyone else's final edit. You're comparing your messy middle to their Instagram stories. You're comparing your full, complicated human reality to their carefully curated performance of success. And then you're wondering why you always feel behind. Let me give you another way to see this. Imagine two runners. Both signed up for a marathon, both trained for months, both showed up on race day nervous and excited and ready. Both stood at that starting line with the same goal: finish the race. Runner 1 spent the entire race looking sideways. Every time someone passed her, she would speed up, her heart rate would spike, her breathing would get shallow. Every time she passed someone, she'd feel this rush of validation, this temporary high of, I'm doing it, I'm ahead, I'm winning. Her entire experience of the marathon was defined by her position relative to others. The mile markers didn't matter. Her own pace didn't matter. Her own body's wisdom didn't matter. Only the scoreboard in her head. Who's ahead? Who's behind? Where do I rank in this pack? She finished the race, crossed that finish line, and immediately, before she'd even caught her breath, she asked someone, "What was my time compared to the average?" She couldn't even feel her own accomplishment without context. She couldn't celebrate her own completion without measuring it against other people's performances. The entire experience, all those months of training, all that effort, all that dedication, and she couldn't even be present for her own victory because she was too busy calculating her ranking. Runner 2 ran differently. She looked forward. She felt her breath moving in and out of her lungs. She felt her rhythm, her cadence, her own body's wisdom telling her when to push and when to ease back. When someone passed her, she thought, good for them. Maybe she even smiled. Maybe she said nice job as they went by. When she passed someone, she didn't think anything at all. She was too busy being present, too busy noticing the trees lining the route, the crowd's cheers, the satisfaction of her own muscles working in harmony, the miracle of her body carrying her forward mile after mile. She noticed the moment around mile 18 where it got really hard, where her legs were screaming and her mind was telling her to stop. She noticed how she pushed through anyway. She noticed the second wind that came around mile 22. She noticed the emotional wave that hit her in the final stretch, the realization that she was actually going to do this thing she'd been working toward for so long. Both runners finished. Both completed 26.2 miles. Both accomplished something incredible. But only one actually experienced the race. Only one was actually present for her own life. Here's the thing, and I need you to really hear this. Life isn't a competition with a rankings board. There's no cosmic leaderboard tracking your success against your high school classmates. There's no prize for most accomplished among your friend group. There's no awards ceremony where they announce who lived the best life in your family, your neighborhood, your industry. There's just your race, the one you're running right now, in the body you have, with the resources you've been given, on the path that's uniquely yours. And when you spend the whole race looking sideways, when you spend your entire life measuring yourself against other people's progress, you miss the actual experience of running. You miss the joy. You miss the pain. You miss the transformation. You miss the aliveness of moving through space, of being here, of participating in this brief, precious thing called a human life. So what if you stopped checking the scoreboard? What if you ran your race like it was the only race that existed? Not because you're better than anyone else, not because you're the fastest or the strongest or the most talented, but simply because it's your race. Because you're the only person who can run it. Because your experience of these miles is the only one that actually belongs to you.
Think about your life like a garden. You've got this plot of land. It's yours. It came with certain soil conditions, certain sunlight hours, certain water access. And you're responsible for tending it, for planting seeds and pulling weeds, and showing up day after day to nurture what grows there. But instead of tending your garden, you keep staring over the fence at your neighbor's garden. You're convinced theirs is better. The grass is greener, the tomatoes are bigger, they've got more flowers, more color, more abundance. And maybe they do. Maybe their garden is objectively more lush right now. But here's what you don't see from your side of the fence: their soil type, their sunlight hours, their water access, their years of composting, their grandfather who taught them to garden when they were 5, their failures, the plants that died, the seasons where nothing grew, the work they put in before you ever looked over the fence. You don't see any of that. You just see the current harvest, and you compare it to your current situation, and you feel less than. And while you're staring at their garden, yours is going unwatered. The plants you could be growing are dying from neglect. The tomatoes that could be ripening are falling off the vine. The flowers that could be blooming are withering because you're too busy measuring someone else's yield to tend your own soil. Comparison is the drought you create yourself. It's not that other gardens don't exist, they do. It's not that some aren't objectively more abundant right now, they are. But your obsession with their harvest is directly preventing your own. You can't grow anything while you're standing at the fence taking measurements. You can't cultivate life while you're cataloging someone else's blooms. What could grow in your garden if you stopped comparing and started cultivating? What could blossom in your life if you gave it even half the attention you're currently giving to other people's lives? What would be possible if you treated your own growth with the same fascination you treat other people's success? Now let me break this down into some truths you need to understand. First, comparison is borrowed vision. When you compare yourself to someone else, you're literally seeing yourself through someone else's eyes. But you don't even know whose eyes. Is it your mother's expectations? Is it society's definition of success? Is it an algorithm's idea of desirability? Is it some composite image you've assembled from magazine covers and movie plots and motivational quotes? You've outsourced your self-worth to a committee you didn't choose. You're letting people who don't know you, who don't love you, who don't understand your path, determine whether you're enough. That's insane. That's like letting strangers grade your painting when they weren't there for a single brushstroke. Second truth, everyone's timeline is fiction. The 25-year-old CEO is an outlier, not the standard. The friend who seems to have it all together is performing just as hard as you are. There is no universal clock ticking. There's no cosmic deadline by which you must achieve certain milestones. The timeline you're stressed about following, the one that says you should be married by this age, making this much money by that age, having kids by this point, owning a house by that point, that timeline was probably invented by someone trying to sell you something, or by someone from a completely different generation, with completely different economic realities, living in a completely different world. Your life doesn't have to follow anyone else's schedule. You're not behind. You're not late. You're exactly where you are, and that's the only place you can be right now. Third truth, envy is a compass, not a curse. When you feel jealous, don't shame yourself. Don't add guilt on top of jealousy. That just makes everything worse. Instead, get curious. Interrogate it. What is that jealousy showing you about what you want? Not what you think you should want. Not what would look good on paper or impress your parents or make sense to your friends. What do you actually want? That jealousy is data. It's your soul trying to tell you something. Maybe you're jealous of someone's creative freedom, and that's showing you that you want more space for creativity in your own life. Maybe you're jealous of someone's relationship, and that's showing you that you're ready for deeper intimacy. Maybe you're jealous of someone's confidence, and that's showing you that you've been playing small and you're ready to take up more space. Use the jealousy. Don't let it use you. Let it point you toward what you're actually hungry for, and then take one small step in that direction in your own life. Fourth truth, You're comparing your totality to their highlight. You know all of yourself. You know your fears, your failures, your doubts, your bad days, your worst thoughts, your embarrassing moments, your shameful secrets. You live inside your head 24/7. You're intimately familiar with every inadequacy you possess. But other people? You know a sliver of them. You know what they choose to show you. You know their social media posts, their public victories, their success stories. It's an unfair fight you've set up against yourself. You're bringing everything you are to the comparison, and they're only bringing their best 5%. Of course you feel like you're losing. So here's what you do. Here's the practice, the actual concrete steps you can take starting today. First, the awareness pause. When you catch yourself comparing, just stop. Don't judge it. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just notice it. Say to yourself, oh, I'm comparing right now. That's it. Name it. Awareness interrupts the pattern. You can't change what you don't notice. Second, the 3 questions. When you catch yourself in comparison mode, ask yourself 3 things. What do I actually want? Not what sounds impressive, not what I think I should want. What do I actually, genuinely want for my life? Second question, what's my next step? Not what's their next step, not what step should I have taken 5 years ago. What's one small thing I can do today, right now, to move toward what I actually want? Third question, what am I grateful for right now in my own story? What's good in my life that I'm overlooking while I'm busy looking sideways? Third practice, curate your inputs. This is huge. Unfollow accounts that make you feel small. I don't care how inspirational they're supposed to be. I don't care if everyone else loves them. If scrolling past their content makes you feel less than, unfollow. Not because they're bad people, not because their content is wrong, but because you're human, and your nervous system can't tell the difference between inspiration and inadequacy. Your brain sees someone doing something amazing, and it either motivates you or it depresses you. And if it's consistently depressing you, that's not serving your growth. Protect your attention like it's your most valuable resource, because it is. What you consume shapes how you see yourself. If you're constantly consuming content that makes you feel behind, you're gonna feel behind. Simple as that. Fourth practice, the deathbed test. When you catch yourself comparing, when you're spiraling about how someone else is ahead of you, ask yourself, will this matter when I'm dying? I know that sounds dark, but stay with me. Will you care, on your actual deathbed, that someone else's kitchen was prettier? Will you care that someone else made partner before you? Will you care that someone else's wedding had more guests? Or will you care that you loved deeply, that you created bravely, that you showed up fully, that you were present for the people who mattered, that you didn't waste your one precious life measuring yourself against phantoms? Fifth practice, celebrate sideways. This is the hardest one and the most powerful one. When someone succeeds, when someone achieves something you want, practice genuine celebration. Not performed celebration, not the kind where you say congratulations through gritted teeth. Genuine celebration. Feel happy for them. Let their win expand your sense of what's possible instead of shrinking your sense of worth. This rewires your brain from scarcity to abundance. It tells your nervous system that there's enough success to go around, that their win doesn't shrink your possibility, that there's enough light for all of us. And the more you practice this, the more you'll notice something miraculous. Other people's success stops threatening you and starts inspiring you. It stops being evidence that you're behind and starts being proof that the thing you want is actually possible. So here's where we've been today. You learned that comparison isn't a character flaw. It's a hijacked survival instinct that your brain is using incorrectly. You saw that you're comparing your rough draft to everyone else's final cut, your entire messy reality to their carefully edited highlight reel. You discovered that the race you're running is yours alone, and the only scoreboard that matters is the one that asks, did I show up as myself today? Did I tend my own garden? Did I run my own race? Here's your mantra. The thing I want you to remember when the comparison spiral starts again. Write this down. Put it somewhere you'll see it. Say it out loud until you believe it. I am not behind. I am not ahead. I am exactly where my story needs me to be right now. And that is enough. Say it when you're scrolling at 2 in the morning. Say it when you hear about someone else's promotion. Say it when you feel like everyone else has figured it out and you're still lost. Say it until it becomes muscle memory. Say it until it becomes true. Because here's what I know for sure. You're not broken. You've just been using the wrong map. You've been trying to navigate your unique path using someone else's coordinates. And no matter how hard you try, that will never work. Your life requires your map. Your journey requires your compass. Your story requires your voice. If this video gave you even one moment of relief, one breath of permission, 1 second where you thought, maybe I can stop measuring and start living, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me which part hit hardest for you. Was it the painter story, the runner metaphor, the garden analogy? Let me know. And subscribe, because we're building something here. We're building a community of people who've decided to stop performing and start living, to stop measuring and start experiencing, to stop comparing and start creating. Your garden's waiting. Your race is happening right now. Your canvas is blank and ready. The only question is, are you going to keep staring over the fence, or are you finally going to tend your own soil? I'll see you in the next one. Keep going. You're exactly where you need to be.